Just to make sure that everybody is on board.
Yes, we're trying. We hope nothing will go wrong today. Yeah, we're trying. We already have 23 people who have come in.
Sure. So we've got 3 minutes. We've got 2 minutes left, Madam Speaker.
We've got 24 people.
Okay.
25 now.
Got a minute to go. Four o'clock now, Doc.
I think the speaker can take over.
All right, thank you very much, and good afternoon to everybody present here this afternoon. Good afternoon, Dr. Fundile Nyati. Good afternoon, MMC Joliti Matongo. Good afternoon to our student council in the city of Johannesburg. Good afternoon, Mr. Masiho, and all the technical team behind the work we are doing today. And you are all welcome. We will be doing introduction and introducing ourselves one by one after I have just done the opening and the reason why we are here. We are here this afternoon as part of our weekly program. And we are live streaming on different platforms of social media. And we do have this program every Wednesday. This time at 4 o'clock, our viewers are expecting us on different topics. And the purpose of these topics, it's all about civic education. It's about educating our citizens on the work of council, particularly during this time of COVID-19. So the speaker always has a conversation with the residents on this, and the speaker is in partnership with Dr. Fundile Nyati to do this civic education to our citizens. We've been on this platform on different topics, and today we are here with the Student Council, and it's not the first time. With June being the Youth Month, as the legislature in the city of Johannesburg, we thought it is very important to engage on issues that speak to educating young people about work of council, especially given the fact that now we are about to begin the consultation on IDP, which I think it will begin by early next week, where we will be engaging with different stakeholders. On this, we have already put the IDP and budget documents there on social media and in the offices, and we will be sourcing. So we thought that it is important to take the Student Council through so that by the time the engagement starts, they have an understanding what is it about and how important it is to source comments from them as young people. So today, as I said, we are joined by the Johannesburg Student Council, who are no strangers to this platform because they have joined previously. We have conversed with them previously on the challenges that are brought about by COVID-19. So every municipality in South Africa goes through a Municipal Systems Act, and which requires that municipalities develop IDP, which is a 5-year plan guide in executing its constitutional mandate and delivering services, developing communities and local government. So I just want to talk about what the IDP is, so that by the time the IDP is unpacked by the executive, then you know what the IDP is and how is it important for you as young people to make comments, questions when the IDP is being presented. So the IDP is an integrated development plan. It is reviewed on an annual basis so that it is aligned to national and provincial strategies, and it responds to continuous changes that are happening in the city. So it is not just a document that goes alone. It is a document that is aligned to a long-term vision. So in Johannesburg, we have a 2040 growth and development strategy, which is a vision. So the IDP then is developed from that long-term vision, and it becomes a 5-year term, which gets reviewed annually. And that is the review that we are undergoing now, where we will be requesting the students to participate when the IDP is tabled to the communities. So in our deliberations, we do note that the voice of young people has been missing. That is why we're having this today, to urge young people to have a voice in the process of the IDP and budget. But we thought that it is important that we have this pre-session with the young people for them to understand the process and also the vision behind it, so that when you are engaged as stakeholders, you are able to
Rafika, I think we are losing you. Hello, Rafika. We can't hear you, Madam Speaker. Okay, I think let me just check that. Doc, I think we're going to have to mute some people.
Yeah,
with that
I'm trying.
noise.
There's this iPhone guy who has to mute. Yeah.
I'm trying to phone Madam, but I see she's
She'll have to
unable.
repeat.
Yeah.
Send her a message.
Speaker, we can't hear you. Okay, I think maybe I see she stepped out of the meeting, Dr. Nyati. I don't see her anymore.
No, she's there. She's there.
Okay.
Let me send her a message.
I'll send her a message to tell her we can hear her.
All right. Can you hear me now?
We lost you for a few minutes there.
All right. I'm not sure where did you lose me, but in short, I was saying that the link between the budgeting as well as the IDP is very important. And I was saying that this is where the budget process comes into play and is the reason why I thought it would be important to invite the MMC for Finance in the city of Johannesburg, MMC Jolie D. Matongo, to further unpack the budgeting process, not only the budgeting process, but also how can young people benefit from the budgeting process and how important it is for young people to have a voice in this process that we are engaging on as a city, and also in the affairs of the city. How is it important that young people have a voice in the affairs of the city and how the city works, particularly when it comes to the issue of budgeting? So I believe that their input is key as we discuss the future of the city, because the future is theirs. It is their city. It is important for them to understand the process in order for them to make comments on the process. Because you can't comment on something you do not understand, but you have to understand how the process works for you to have an interest of making a process. So with those few opening remarks, I would request the panelists to introduce themselves. Just a short brief of who you are, and yeah, I think then it will go very quick. Let me start with you, Dr. Nyati, as my partner in this process of civic education.
All right, my name is Fundile Nyati, medical doctor, healthcare entrepreneur. I'm actually assisting the Office of the Speaker to ensure that these weekly engagements do take place. You know, so that's basically my role.
Thank you very much. MMC.
Thank you very much, Speaker. My name is Jolie D. Matongo. I'm the member of the Mayoral Committee responsible for finance in the city of Johannesburg. Proud also to say that at some point in 2008, I was the Deputy Director responsible for youth development in the city of Johannesburg. So when it comes to issues of youth, I think I'm up to the task. Thank you.
Thank you very much, MMC. Maseko?
Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you, Madam Speaker, and to all those who are watching. My name is Shiko Maseko. I am the spokesperson to Madam Speaker, Councillor Nongaba Mulwele. And thank you very much for having us, Madam Speaker. And can I just maybe, Madam Speaker, before, because we've got over 26 people who are on here, maybe what we do is we just allow the leadership of the Student Council I've got a list of their names so that we don't go through everyone.
Yes.
To introduce themselves, if you don't mind asking them. Yeah.
Yes, please go through the list, Sipho, just to save time and for our viewers as well.
Okay, great stuff. So we've got Teddy, who is a mayor since 2016 to 2017. Teddy, are you there? Can we ask you to introduce yourself very quickly, and then we move to Tahir, who was the mayor since 2018 to 2019, and then I'll go through a list of other members of the Student Council.
Good afternoon, Madam Speaker, the MC of Finance, and all the other important honorable guests. My name is Teddy Mateja, and I am the former executive mayor in the Johannesburg Student Council, the years 2016 and 2017. I'm currently enrolled for LLB Law in University of Johannesburg. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Madam Speaker, MMC for Finance, Dr. Fundile Nyati, Mr. Sipho, good afternoon, fellow councillors. My name is Tahir Tayob, and I am the former mayor of the Johannesburg Student Council, the term of office of 2018 and 2019, and currently I am a matric student, hoping to matriculate at the end of this year.
Very much. Madam Speaker, if I can ask Sanganani, and then be followed by Faith, and followed by Riaz, and then I'll call other names. So those three names, if you can start, Sanganani, please.
Greetings, Madam Speaker. I am Sanganani Ndlovu. Thank you for having us in this wonderful afternoon. Thank you.
Thank you. Faith?
Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for having me on this platform. I'm Faith van Grenen, and I'm one of the JSC councillors. Thank you.
Thank you. Riaz?
Good afternoon, Madam Speaker, and everyone else. My name is Riaz Chunara, and I'm also part of the JSC for 2020. Thank you.
Great. Then can we have Nzaka, Kolwani, and Unizi just to prepare? And can you come over, Nzaka, please?
Good afternoon to everyone who is participating today. I am Zakaf Baloy from Sir John Adamson from the JSC, and yeah, I'll be with you guys today. Thank you.
Kolwani?
Greetings, everyone. My name is Glani Mape. I'm in grade 10. Thank you.
Unizi?
Good day to all. I am Eunice Pillay, and I attend Westbury Secondary School. Thank you.
Thank you. Kiara, Jordan, Letabo, you are next. Kiara? Kiara is not there. Jordan, can you come in, please?
Good afternoon. I am Jordan Baikis from the JSC Council, and I am at St. Barnabas College. Thank you.
Thank you. Letabo, can you come in?
Good afternoon.
Oh, okay. No, sorry.
Okay, good afternoon, everybody and fellow councillors. I'm Letabo Rampa, and I attend school at Nugent Academy, and I am a student councillor.
Thank you very much. The last one is John T., who is the chairperson of transport since 2014 to 2015. Are you here, John T.?
Good day. Yes, I'm here. Sorry, I can't turn on the camera. I'm actually multitasking, but I'm listening in. Thanks for the invite. Greetings to the speaker and everyone who's joined. And I'm observing protocol. And I am a Bachelor's of Accounting graduate, currently studying honors at UJ.
Thank you very much for joining us. Then it leaves me to Kiara. Are you there, or Are you back? If not, can I then propose, Madam Speaker, then you take over from here, and greetings to all the JSC student members. And we can see your names here, so thank you so much for joining us. And thank you very much, Madam Speaker. You can take over.
Thank you very much, Sipho, and thank you very much to the Johannesburg Student Council for being here. But most importantly, thank you very much to our viewers who are with us. They're not necessarily on the platform, but they are with us. Maybe just to kickstart, before I give MMC Matongo to take us through the process, let me just find out from one or two students, what is your understanding of the IDP? Is there anyone who understands what the IDP is and what is the aim of the IDP and why are we having an IDP? Tahir?
My
okay.
My understanding of the IDP is that it's a platform whereby individuals are able to engage in active citizenry, where they're able to actively go forward and benefit their communities by getting in touch with the municipality, providing ideas for how to better the municipality, and just encouraging members of their specific wards to get involved.
Thank you very much, Tahir. Thank you very much. Well done. There is no wrong answer. Is there any other view on what the IDP is and why do we have an IDP? Is there anyone who...
I think I have an idea.
Yes.
From what I understand, the IDP is a 5-year plan of a municipality to develop the community and municipality better with the input of the citizens of the said community. And it gets reviewed every 5 years, and the citizens get to put input into what happens with the IDP. That's what I understand.
Wow, thank you very much.
Beautiful.
Can I get one of the ladies? I see Lisedi Makubo wants to say something. Okay, it's fine.
I think Eunice is ready.
Okay, Eunice.
Okay, well, I would think it's safe to set goals for within the next 5 years and to empower all the community youth. The plan is also to build up the part of the community that is in lack. For an example, unemployment or the lack of certain areas. Yeah. Thank you.
I think also there's another lady here. Let's balance things. Jordan Parkis.
An integrated development plan is a plan that gives an overall direction for development in our city, which has a lifespan of 5 years. The plan is used to ensure that the needs of communities are identified and addressed by the city of Joburg. Thank you.
Beautiful.
Thank you very much. Now, the Student Council, MMC Matongo, is well informed. If you could just take us through linking the IDP and the budget cycle. I don't want to ask one by one of them to say who knows and understands the cycle of budget and the process. But I think they have responded enough on the understanding on the IDP. If you could just take the student through MMC Matongo. Thank you very much. Over to you.
Thank you very much, Madam Speaker. Good afternoon, Dr. Nyati. Also, good afternoon to the members of the Student Council of our great city, the city of Johannesburg, a world-class African city of the future. Always a pleasure to engage with our students and also to really be part of such processes. But I think we should start off, Madam Speaker and colleagues, by really putting out there what is the constitutional mandate for local government in South Africa, so that we have an understanding, because there are 3 spheres of government in South Africa. We've got the national government level, we've got the provincial level, of government, and we've got the local government level of our government system. So in terms of our constitution, section 152 of the Constitution of the Republic of South Africa says that the local government must focus its efforts into advancing democratic developmental outcomes through, and I'm going to list them. Number one, providing democratic and accountable government for local communities. Number two, promoting sustainable service delivery. Number three, promoting economic and social development. Number four, promoting safe and healthy environments. And lastly, encouraging the involvement of communities and community-based organizations in the local government affairs. Now, I think it's quite the last point, Madam Speaker, which is part of our mandate as local government, which speaks to encouraging the involvement of communities and community-based organizations in local government affairs, is really at the heart of what we are discussing today, because the Constitution makes it compulsory for us as local government to engage with communities, to engage with organized organizations in our communities, to get them involved in the affairs of local government. But how do they get involved in those affairs of local government? We will get there very soon. But I think it's important, Madam Speaker, to indicate that we have got in South Africa a national plan, the Lodestar, the plan that the national government says if we implement this plan, the lives of the citizens of South Africa will be better. And that plan is called the NDP 2030, or the National Development Plan. Now, we need to make sure, as I've alluded before, that we've got national government, provincial government, and local government. How do we then ensure that the plans of national government find expression in local government and also in the provincial government? So what has happened in our case in the province of Gauteng is that the provincial government has put together a strategy called GGT 2030, Growing Gauteng Together Towards 2030, which plan is aligned to the National Development Plan 2030. Now, in the city of Johannesburg, because we are a city of firsts, you will see when we talk about the numbers at the end of the strategy, that the number will differ. In the city of Johannesburg, we've got what we call the Growth and Development Strategy 2040. I spoke about the National Development Plan 2030. I spoke about the Gauteng, Growing Gauteng Together 2030 strategy. But when you come to the municipality, we have a Growth and Development Strategy 2040, GDS 2040. And this is precisely because the city of Johannesburg is a city of firsts. We developed our strategy a long time ago, looking at the horizon to say, what kind of a Johannesburg would we like to live in? What kind of a future would we like our children, our grandchildren, our great-grandchildren to live in? So we've developed this kind of a plan, which is a long-term plan that really has got a number of outcomes. 4 of those outcomes speak to really the work that we seek to do to ensure that we achieve what we call our vision, a world-class African city of the future. And these outcomes of our growth and development strategy are the following. Number 1 is improved quality of life and development-driven resilience for all. Number 2 is provide a resilient, livable, sustainable urban environment underpinned by smart infrastructure supportive of a low carbon economy. The third outcome is an inclusive, job-intensive, resilient, competitive, and smart economy that harnesses the potential of citizens. And the last of our 4 outcomes is a high-performing metropolitan government that proactively contributes to and builds a sustainable, socially inclusive, locally integrated, and globally competitive Gauteng city region. So that is our growth and development strategy. So how does it all come together? Now, me and you wake up in the morning, we go to the tap to wash our teeth, we open the tap, the water comes out. But how do we make sure as the city that the water comes out? We wash our teeth, we take a bath, we go out. There is a bus there in the streets, a Rea Vaya bus that takes us. We are driven by the Rea Vaya bus on third roads. We get to wherever that we are going. Perhaps you might be going to a local clinic if you are sick. At the clinic, the nurses are there. The medicine is provided and a whole range of things happen at the clinic. So how do all these things get to be realized? So the starting point is that, as I said, we have a constitutional mandate as local government to provide services. But in order to provide these services, we then sit down and say, what is our long-term strategy to make Johannesburg a world-class African city? Then we came up with the Growth and Development Strategy 2040. Now, the Growth and Development Strategy 2040 with those 4 outcomes is really a roadmap, is a long-term strategy of our city, divided into 4 decades because we started about 2 decades ago. And in each decade, there are deliverables to say in this decade, these are the things that we are going to do so that by 2040, we can say Johannesburg is indeed a world-class African city. Now, because the GDS 2040 is a long-term plan, it can be implemented over a 1-year period. Then we are required as local government by law to say at the beginning of each municipal term of a political office, like in 2016, the government must then develop a 5-year strategy that will be implemented to make sure that the mandate of local government is realized. Therefore, you've got what we call the IDP or the Integrated Development Plan, which is really a 5-year plan like some of you have already answered the question posed by Madam Speaker. The IDP or the Integrated Development Plan is the 5-year plan of the municipality, which seeks to ensure that the mandate of local government is achieved. Now, each and every year, we do have the review, firstly, of the first financial year. We review in this first year, these are the things that we said we are going to do. Have we been able to do them? So there's an annual review of the work that has been done. Then we then go out to communities and say, in terms of our 5-year plan, these are the things that we said we are going to do. This is where we have achieved. This is where we have failed. Now, I think we can all agree that in this current financial year, government had a number of plans and programs that it wanted to achieve. But because of the COVID-19 pandemic, many of those things that were supposed to be achieved have not been achieved or will not be achieved by the 30th of June, 2020. So at the start of a new financial year, before the start of a new financial year, we then go through a process of reviewing the IDP to say, fine, this is the 5-year plan. This is how far we have come. If there are things that we realize we will not achieve in the next year or so, we then have to make amendments to the plan so that our annual plan for the new financial year, which starts on the 1st of July 2020, take into consideration those things that we are able to achieve or unable to achieve. Therefore, the IDP as a first part is that integrated development plan, which is a 5-year plan. But annually, we then do or come up with what we call the Service Delivery and Budget Implementation Plan, the SDBIP, which is basically an annual plan or an annual plan. So if you've got the Service Delivery Budget Implementation Plan for year 1, 2, 3, and 4, and 5, all of those put together as 5 of the Service Delivery Budget Implementation Plans make up the IDP, which is a 5-year plan. Now, the IDP, as we are saying, is a plan. So plans without resources will just remain that, plans. So we can say in our IDP that we want to develop young people in the city of Johannesburg over the next 5 years. And we can put a number and say we want to develop, say, 7,000 of them. And that development will take a number of forms. We'll provide bursaries to them. We will provide skills development training programs. We will get them into jobs and so on. So that is the plan. But without resourcing the plan will remain just that, a plan. Therefore, that is why we then, after we say, here is the proposed plan, we then say, in the budget, now the budget in our sphere of work is what we call statement of political intent. Now, the system works in such a way that the executive mayor would have delivered the state of the city address. And in the state of the city address, the executive mayor, Councillor Jeffrey Makubo, would have said, these are the things we want to do. Among them, we are going to have a youth development program to develop 7,000 young people and so on. Then 2 weeks after the mayor would have delivered the state of the city address, the executive mayor himself, because the law says the executive mayor will present the budget, or a person delegated by the executive mayor, which might be myself. We don't know. The mayor still has to decide whether I deliver the budget or he delivers the budget, because by law it's he who delivers the budget. So if the mayor says, Councillor Matongo, deliver the budget, then I would, after the delivery of the state of the city address, deliver the budget for the municipality. Now, in the budget for the municipality, Councillor Matongo would then say, the executive mayor made a commitment to the residents that we are going to implement a youth development program targeting 7,000 young people across the city. Now, the city is allocating X amount of money towards the realization of that particular commitment that the mayor would have made. Now, there is a link there. Nationally, we've got a national development plan, there's a national youth development agency, the National Youth Act, and so on. In the province, we've got a number of plans. In the municipality, we've got our own plans, but we work in a systematic way in what we call an intergovernmental relations framework, so that when national government says 100,000 young people must be developed, there is no space called national. All young people live in spaces, and those spaces are in the localities. So as municipalities, we've got then to say, in the commitment to empower, to develop 100,000 nationally, what is Joburg's contribution? The mayor would then announce the numbers. The MMC for finance or the executive mayor would then allocate the resources for the realization of the commitments that the mayor would have made. So firstly, we've got the Growth and Development Strategy 2040, which is our long-term vision. But then we then come into each political term of office and develop an integrated development plan, which plan should take us through the 4 decades up to 2040 to the realization of what this long-term strategy is. Now, for every 5 years, we annually review the work done, and then we then say, let's engage our citizens in a consultative process. Remember, the section 152, subsection 5 of the Constitution says, we as local government must encourage the involvement of communities in the local government affairs. Now, how it works is that we then, throughout the process, throughout the year, would have a number of stakeholder engagements with communities, where the mayor and the mayoral committee and councillors would come to communities to hold izimbizo, where people indicate to the mayor and the mayoral committee, these are the things that we want in our ward to be implemented and so on. Then we have got a team within the council, which is a department called the GSPCR, which is responsible for policy coordination in the city. They would then put together all the inputs from communities, discuss with the executive and say, these are the things that people have been saying in the last financial year that they would want to see implemented in the new financial year. We then put all those inputs into a draft. And that draft is what we now, as the speaker has said, we produce a draft integrated development plan, a draft IDP. And that draft IDP is then tabled at a council meeting where councillors sit. The councillors then note the draft for public participation and inputs by communities and various stakeholders. So we are at that stage now. 2 weeks ago, a week ago, we went to council. We tabled the draft IDP. It was noted by council. It is now made available as a public document for you, in particular as leaders of young people in our city. It's important for you to go through the IDP, look into the IDP, draft IDP. Does this draft IDP address the needs of young people in our city? Because before we finalize the IDP and we allocate the monies, we want young people and everybody in our city to make their inputs. But remember, the resources are not enough. The needs are plenty, but the resources are very scarce. So we will have to try very hard with the executive mayor and the team to at least implement many, or if not many, the top priorities of young people in our city and the top priorities of our residents as they would have made their input. So it's quite important that you make your inputs in the next weeks. You must go to the website and look at the IDP and then make your inputs. Sipo there from the speaker's office, before we close, will then indicate where do you send your inputs, what are the email addresses, what is the WhatsApp number, and all of that. So it's important that you make your inputs. You may go to the IDP and find that the IDP says nothing about young people. And if you keep quiet as young people, when we finalize the IDP, it will be an IDP without the voice of young people. And when we allocate the resources, we allocate the resources based on the programs that are in the IDP. So the rule is, if it's not in the IDP, it will not be budgeted for. So we really want to implore you as young people, as leaders of young people, to really take the time, go and read the IDP, do like we are doing now, talk to your fellow students and your other organizations that you might be working with, talk to them about what are the real needs of young people and whether this IDP addresses those. So that's the first part. If you miss this part of making sure that you make submissions on what you think the city should do, working with young people, you can be guaranteed that there might be a danger that the money might not be allocated for the things that you wish for. So as I said, if it's not in the IDP, it shall not be budgeted for. So it's important that we go through that process. Now, the IDP has been tabled at council, is now gone out for public participation and consultations. You need to make your inputs there. Similarly, we have also tabled the draft budget for the new financial year for comments. We have also tabled the tariffs that we want to levy on our customers and our residents. So it's important that you also look at the tariffs and the budget. And if you feel, look, community development department is charging this particular tariff for us to use a hall in our city, if we want to have a concert or to dance or whatever, we don't think that as young people, this particular tariff that is proposed is affordable, is fair for young people and so on. So you need to make the inputs and comments, because if you keep quiet, we think that all is well. When the inputs are consolidated and you have not raised your issues sharply to say, we don't agree with this particular proposed tariff. Can our government relook at this tariff, and by way of reducing it, we run a risk of the tariff remaining the same. So on the budget and the tariff, please make your inputs accordingly to say, how do you feel about the proposed budget? If you feel there is very little money for youth development in the proposed budget, you must say so and provide reasons. And then we may then be swayed through your inputs to change the allocations that are proposed in the new budget. Now, the budget is quite an important aspect of things, because without the budget, the plans that we have will not be realized. So it's important that the budget is understood by everybody. So what is important is to understand, where does the money come from? Because if people don't understand where does the money come from, then we are going to have a problem. Firstly, there's something called the Division of Revenue Act, the DORA. Those of you at tertiary who are studying finance would have come across something called the DORA, the Division of Revenue Act. Through that act, which is a division of revenue, the national government divides the revenue. It shares the revenue that would have been collected by SARS and all other revenue. It shares that revenue among the national departments, state entities, it gives to provinces, and it gives to us as the municipality. So we've got what we call our equitable share, money that comes from national government for us to do certain of the things that we're supposed to do. So we've got money, grants that come from national government through the taxes that our parents are paying. So that's the first part. We raise money, we get money from national government through grants. But the second part, which is a big part of our budget, is that we must raise our own money as the municipality. Now, how do we raise our own money as a municipality? We charge for the usage of electricity, we charge for water, we charge for the removal of waste, we charge, there are a number of things that we charge for, the traffic fines and so on. So we have a big chunk of money that we must collect ourselves. So imagine if people don't pay for municipal services, it means government in the city of Johannesburg will not have the money available to deliver on the promises contained in the IDP. So it's quite important as you sit at home to also start the education at home, to say, we as young people have got this need of the rolling out of Wi-Fi across, so that you as our parents don't spend money on data. We will have free Wi-Fi, free access to Wi-Fi. But in order for us to have free access to Wi-Fi, our parents, our brothers and sisters must pay for their municipal services, because the money we collect we also are able to implement some of the programs which include the rollout of Wi-Fi across the city. So it's quite important that we also indicate that without people paying for the services and paying all the other tariffs and the fines that would have been imposed, local government might not be able to survive. We have seen in the recent past 2 months that people were in lockdown, people are retrenched and so on. So we have not been able to collect the revenue that we had projected to collect. In April, we under-collected by a whopping 705 million. Now in May, the preliminary figures are saying we are under-collecting by another 500 million. So we hope that in June, as the economy opens up more and more people will go back to jobs and they will be able to pay for the municipal services. So the first part of the money, where the money comes from, it comes from government, national government and provincial government through the grants that we receive. We also have to raise our own cash, which is the things I spoke about, the charges that we levy for water, electricity, refuse removal, sanitation, and so on. And that is the biggest channel. Then we also go out to the financial markets and raise loans. Now, it's quite important as we speak about the budget that we need to ensure going forward that we reduce the amount that we borrow from the financial markets. Because if people don't pay for their services, it means we have got less money to deliver services. It forces us to go to the market to borrow money. Now, when we borrow money, we can be reckless ourselves. Myself and the speaker were old now. Not so long ago, we will be going to pension. When we are eating our pension, you as the young people of today will have to be paying for the loans that we would have taken at this hour. So we don't want to burden future generations yourselves with loans that have got to be repaid, because at the time the loans have to be repaid, the municipalities may be forced to increase the rates and taxes, so that then you are the ones who will be working at the time, you are the ones who are going to be charged more. So in order for us to avoid going to the financial markets, we've got to encourage our people to pay for their municipal service so that we are able to raise more and more of our own cash, and then we can deliver the services. So I think it's quite important that we encourage people to pay for services. So I don't know, Madam Speaker, how much time we have, but maybe let me leave it at that for now to say the IDP, the draft IDP has been noted by Council, is going now for public participation, including the draft budget and the tariffs. We encourage young people, the leadership here in the platform, to go through the documents, to talk to their colleagues and their peers, and then really make those inputs, send the inputs. I just wish that when we deliver the State of the City address by Councillor Makubu, our mayor, the mayor is going to be able to say, I received an idea from Katlego Mataba to say this is what we want as young people. And I should be able to say, when we were in the student council, members have made submissions on the budget. I should be able to say some of your names, to say I have received this one from this member of the student council on the budget, and it's an idea that we like, we're implementing it going forward. So let's end it at that, Madam Speaker, and really encourage the colleagues to maybe have a discussion, raise their questions so that it becomes a dialogue of sorts. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, MMC. We really appreciate the presentation. I'm going to hand over to Dr. Nyati to facilitate this process of engagement. Looking at the time, I'm not very good in timekeeping. But the MMC Matongo, you have really educated us. You have raised pertinent issues, the link between the IDP and budget. You have also spoken about the whole process, which you also quoted DORA, the Division of Revenue Act, as to what does the act mean, and also the importance of paying for services for okay.
We can hear you now.
Can you hear me now? Okay,
Yeah.
thank you. Thank you very much. I'm going to hand over to Dr. Nyati to facilitate the next process so that we are on time and the students are able to comment on the presentation, and we make sure that they are ready to comment on the draft and IDP, on the draft IDP and budget, which you correctly said that it was tabled by the executive mayor on Friday, and it was noted by council, and it is out there now for comments. Over to you, Dr. Nyati.
Thank you, Speaker. I know we had agreed that this session must take not more than 60 minutes, but I think the MMC, being a politician,
information is power. Information is power, Doc.
Yes, but anyway, no, he did an excellent job.
The platform and the mic.
All right, I think I'm gonna choose the junior councillors at random, but before we do that, maybe Sipho can just tell us a little bit about some of the comments from the people who are watching, maybe for the next 5 minutes, and then we quickly go back. I would like Tahir to get ready to say something about what the MMC has said. John Desas, because he is actually doing honors, he's got BCom something at UJ. So I'm sure this matter of budgets and stuff like that, it's something that he's very familiar with. And then I'll choose other people at random. Yeah.
Okay.
Sipho?
Thank you very much, Dr. Nyati. And also, thank you very much to everybody who's watching on all our platforms. We are live on Facebook, on Twitter, as well as on YouTube. So the comments are coming from all the different spaces. On Facebook, Ntombi Futi Vena is watching. Thank you, Madam Speaker. Vicky Shuping says, great topic on the IDP. Peter Kangwani says, great program. And Elizabeth Williams says, good answers, young lions. I'm presuming she says they must definitely engage with the MMC. And Mamtendi Galose on Facebook says, we are watching and listening, Madam Speaker. Daka says, I'm loving the conversations. Lilo Anna says, well done, City of Johannesburg. I see the Chief of Staff is on top of his game. Tulile Sweetness Ntali says, very informative presentations from our MMC, Joliti Matongo, and our Madam Speaker. And Tulile says, I'm watching, Madam Speaker. Pumelelo Sazo says, we are indeed with you. Karabo Siminya says, the message will be passed to young people, MMC. Tanya Oldjohn says, we are listening, Boss Jolly. And then Zuzile says, we are here. And Tepo says, Amandane. So those are just the comments for now. And we encourage that all our viewers on all the platforms just to also ask questions or make comments that are really specific to the budget and the IDP process as well. Thank you very much, Dr. Nyati. Thank you, Speaker.
Thank you, Mr. Masiho. I think then let's go to Tahir. Tayop, just a short comment on what the MMC presented to you.
Thank you, Doctor. I definitely think it's quite an important presentation, especially for us as the youth to hear, given, you know, the change that we wish to occur in our communities, and it's important to know the intricacies that go into affecting that change. I found it particularly useful given the breakdown of the budget presentation, given that you know, change requires a means of funding, which ultimately comes from us as students. I mean, us as citizens. You know, it's important to acknowledge that in order to progress as a society, the change comes from you know, funds. Funds come from creating those opportunities through that change. So it's definitely an essential part of, you know, local government. And I think what we all need to take into consideration is that I'm sure the councillor for MMC can confirm that budgeting isn't an easy job, and there's definitely a lot of different, you know, mechanisms by which he needs to follow. And that ultimately, given the COVID-19 crisis, that we are at a shortage of funds. It's particularly important that those funds are handled in such a manner that account for the most vulnerable actors in our society. And through the upliftment of those individuals, will we see actual tangible change. And essentially, I think that tangible change starts with us here as the students. You know, we come from all these different schools, we have all these different backgrounds, all these different ideas. And whoever said that age is a limitation on democratic responsibility, I think they weren't thinking straight. You know, our age isn't something that should limit us in bringing forward these ideas. I think some of the greatest ideas that I've ever heard from fellow student councillors. So it's definitely some inspiring to see these student councillors here getting involved.
I think you are going to be a politician. I can see you enjoy the platform. All right. John T, and then after John T, it will be Teddy. All right. I just want quick, short, you know, comments. John
All right.
T.
So for a student who's done finance and was studying a bachelor's of accounting, I feel that it's, first of all, thank you to the city for inviting me. I've been a councillor years back, but the active citizenship principle that was instilled in me is still there. And such a platform such as the IDP gives the citizens the power to actually make a decision on what they want the city to do. And we know that finances are always tricky and they're not available. As much as we may want to do more as a city, we have that constraint. But such a new document that's coming into play for the next 5 years requires us to come together, and it's good that young people are being involved, and we are given that power of us actually reviewing what our city wants to do in the next 5 years, what they want to achieve, what is possible in terms of the money that is available. And I think our input is going to go a long way into changing the future we want, because at the end of the day, I feel like as much as politicians who are currently making decisions now, those decisions affect us in the future. And it's up to us young people to be part of the decision making right now, because we're going to reap the rewards or suffer the consequences of the decisions that are taken. So thank you for the input. I'll go through the IDP document and see if I can give my fair share of input, and hopefully my input will contribute towards the direction in the next 5 years of which our city is heading. So yeah, thank you.
Thank you. Teddy, do you have anything to say?
Yes, I do, Doc. I think it's of importance to try and firstly appreciate that we are on this platform, but I'm a bit concerned because yes, we are having the IDP set out and in our communities, and we are told that we need to engage with our people, but most of our people have very little access to what platforms that we are now able to have the privilege to join, which then makes it a bit problematic for those who come from underprivileged communities to actually know what it is that these processes have to do, understand what these processes consist of, and the entire dilemma in which we face problems of maladministration, maybe, and whatever. The second point is that, yes, we are understanding that it's just plans. And we are also understanding that there's a budget drawn up, which then means that should it be approved and whatever, there's money that will be allocated. But the issue again, in all forms of, in all spheres of government, is that it falls through the cracks. And that's another worry from my side, that money is put aside for certain things, but it's not utilized to its full potential for what it's really meant to be doing. So yeah, thank you.
Thank you. Over to you, Sipo.
Thank you very much, Doc. Just quickly, as we have made this session really about young people, today is not really much of a consultation process, but rather an educational process for young people, and also to take them with us because this is Youth Month. So we do want and expect and hope that more of our young people today here can engage with us. So I'll go through the names, but before, I just want to take one or two social media comments. One from Mamorwa Ololo says, thank you, leaders, for the information. Still need to hear more and hope our youngsters are listening and must participate. Bonyeleni Mabaso says, can the budget cover informal trading in the city? So that's a question for MMC. And another one says, are we still going to have community-based planning to give communities to prioritize their needs? That comes from Bonyeleni Mabaso. And Abigail Ndlovu says, active citizenry indeed. Well done, Madam Speaker. So let me go through my list quickly. I would like to ask Faith. Faith, if you have any comments, would like you to come in, and followed by Riaz and Sanganani, just to make your input in that order. Faith, are you ready?
Yes, I think it was very informative, and as being a part of the youth, I think it was very useful to be a part of this. Some of the things, we were sent questions on a group prior to the meeting, and one of the questions was, what should the role of young people in the IDP and budgeting process be? And I just wanted to say that I think this platform has given us the opportunity to understand our role and how our input really can affect the future of our generation and generations to come after us. And one of the things I wanted to just touch base on is like the pollution in our city, especially, and how as young people, I think it's very important for us to start with separation at source, which is basically separating your waste and rubbish at home so that it can easily be recycled. And I think that this is definitely something I'm going to add into the IDP once I comment on the IDP, once I read through it fully and understand what's happening, because I think recycling and reducing our carbon footprint, not only as a city, but as a country in general, is very important for us in heading in the right direction as a country. Thank you.
Thank you very much for that. Riaz, have you got some input you'd like to make?
Yes, so basically it's similar to what Faith said. I think it was a very informative presentation, and I think it's going to empower us a lot, because when I was first told, at least, about the IDP, I didn't understand. I knew that what the acronym meant. I knew it was Integrated Development Plan, but after this, I completely understand what it actually is and what it entails. So I think it's really helped us. And just to add on to what Faith said, I think definitely reducing our carbon footprint as a country as a whole, to be honest, is actually a great step in the right direction. And I hope that I can also add into that for comments in the IDP. Thank you.
Awesome. Sanganani, would you like to come in as well, just to make your comments, and then followed by Zaka and Kolwani, if you can prepare yourself for your comments.
Hey, Sipo.
Yes, sir.
Sorry, man. Yeah. Let's try and manage that gender balance, man. Otherwise we'll be accused of, promoting male voices. Yeah.
Yes, please. Okay. Yes, please, Doc.
Okay. Eunice and Kiara, can you come in as well as Letabo? Maybe follow them, and I'll come to all the gents afterwards. Ladies?
So I was just thinking about this whole thing of the IDP, which I find very amazing due to the fact that we as young people finally have a voice and to give opinions to those that we had no voice. And I would say that we as young people see a lot of things differently than what others see. And we can point out things that many need, that I need, or rather that are in lack. So I say that this whole point in us having a voice is an amazing thing. Thank you.
Sipo.
Right.
Sipo?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, I just want to, I'm just probing now. We know that in our communities, there's a lot of issues around gender-based violence. There's issues around unemployment. There's issues around small business for youth and other economic opportunities. Maybe the guys who are going to talk next must try and link some of those social things if they believe that those issues are important, and be able to ask the MMC here if those things have been catered for.
Okay, no, very true. Katlego, I see you. Would you like to come in? I'm just picking on and asking all the ladies to just come in and make their comments so that I can follow protocol as you said. So, Katlego, have you got any comments with regards to this?
Good day to everyone. My name is Katlego. I would love to basically start with the challenges that are experienced by the youth. So the youth is hard hit by the HIV and AIDS, and the youth is mostly sexually active, and there's a high rate of pregnancy among the youth, and this drug and substance abuse is very high amongst the youth. Unemployment and lack of, oh Jesus.
Right. I don't know what happened there with Katlego.
I don't know what happened either. Maybe
to the next lady.
Yeah, next one. Jordan, would you like to participate? I'll see you.
I think that the young people should be a consulting party that the city needs to engage with to ensure that the IDP caters for all the youth's shortcomings and development needs. Thank you.
Okay.
But maybe on that point, Jordan, what are you guys going to do in terms of reviewing the IDP that is out for comment to make sure that you don't wait for things to happen, you actually push for things to happen?
Sorry, can you repeat?
I was saying the MMC has told you that the IDP is out for public participation and comment. Now, what are you as a youth going to do to ensure that your interests are actually included in the final version of the plan for this year? Personally, what are you going to do?
I think that we need to provide input to make sure that we are heard.
Okay, thank you. Sipo, take over.
Thank you very much. Can we just provide one more or one more young person just to make comments, and then we can allow MMC to respond. We'll do another round. Is there anyone who'd like to participate? I'm just looking at the
There's
names.
Amber Jade here, who's been quiet.
Okay. Amber?
There's Amber Jade, who has been quiet. I'm not sure if she can hear me. If not, Onati Matibela.
Yes, thank you. I think the IDP needs to prioritize gender-based violence, because gender-based violence and unemployment go hand in hand, because I think men in our country, or women, they rely on men so much because men have a higher employment rate than females. So we need to make women empowerment and supporting female businesses a cornerstone of the IDP. And I'm going to look very deeply into the fact, to making sure that the IDP entails that we prioritize community safety and we empower women. Thank you.
Nzaka, I saw your hand was up. Would you like to make your comments, and then we can allow MMC to respond?
Yes, thank you. Can you all hear me?
Yeah.
Yes, we can.
So I would like to make a comment. I received a question of how can we educate the young people on the IDC and how we can empower them. So this is what I came up with. You could teach it at school, because we are at school for 6 to 7 hours, and we could actually create a new subject called governmental studies, because there is so much to learn about government and there are so many problems to solve that we actually need something like that. And okay, yeah, that was my first point. And my second point, so you were talking about employment with our youth. So given the IDP, when we do come to the point where we need to, for example, build houses for the people who do not have houses in the rural areas or something like that, we could take the young people who are unemployed and have no skills in those locations, skill them and give them the employment to actually build those houses. So that would be solving unemployment for those people.
Thank you. I think that's enough for now, Zaga, because of time. Let's look for somebody else. Sipho, who should come next?
All right. I think maybe at this point, Doc, let's allow MMC to just respond, and then. But over to you, Madam Speaker. I'm sure you can, unless you want to say something, Madam Speaker.
Oh, thank you, Sipho. Let's give it to the MMC to save time. I will do the closing remarks afterwards. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Madam Speaker, Sipho and Doc. I think Tahir is correct. What we are hearing as the city government is young people who are yearning for change, young people who are saying we want to grab the opportunity to have our voice in how our money is spent, because it's quite important. If you don't participate, others will participate, they'll give their views, and the money will be spent on the things that other people said we must spend them on. So it's quite important that everybody participates. Well, you know, as a student, that budgeting is not easy. There are many competing priorities. Now we are presented with another big challenge of the COVID-19 pandemic. When we did the budget some few months ago, we didn't know that there will be this pandemic. So we expect that the contributions that will be coming in will be, giving us direction to say, let's put more money in the health and social development sector, so that we are able to intervene and deal with the pandemic. When we agree there's a problem, if we don't have enough revenue, we can't be spending more. So revenue and expenditure go hand in hand. The attention that the IDP and budget must give to the vulnerable communities is quite important. I think COVID-19 taught us a very big lesson that we knew, but maybe we have been shying away from it. To say there are many, many people in our city, in our country, who go hungry, who go to bed without having something to eat. That's why there's been a big problem and protests and outcry by communities to say we need food parcels, we need those interventions. So I think it's important that we focus on the vulnerable, but yeah, it's the inputs you must make, that the budget and IDP must go to the vulnerable, because other people may not think so. They may think people are lazy, they must go and find work, but there are those who are really, really struggling. Jonty, I think you are spot on. Active and engaged citizenry is one of the 10 strategic priorities of our government, to make sure that people are involved and they are active in the affairs of their city. The power is indeed in the hands of the youth in this process, and everybody else to contribute. I believe that you are the future and no one can stop you. Terry, access to information, I think it's quite an important thing. The speaker has been on my case since the budget was tabled at the IDP, to say how is the MMC going to help us make sure that community radio, community media in general participates and helps us to get people to participate. Because if you go to some of the officials and you say, we've got Eldos FM, we've got Josie FM and all other Kofifi FM, and you will be told, no, those people don't qualify, they don't comply. So you can't phone in when we were supposed to have a radio discussion with the executive mayor. For example, we can't take the executive mayor to Kofifi, to participate and engage people on the IDP and hear their views. So it's a matter that we have been hard at work attending to it. It will be resolved. People will be able to participate, because I think the problem you are raising is that many people may not be having access to Zoom and Microsoft Teams and WebEx and all that. They have access to their community radio. So we are going to be making sure that community radios play a big part, so that you can phone in when I'm there and other MMCs and the mayor talking on the IDP and the budget. That we will ensure. There is obviously a WhatsApp number that can be used. SIPO will share the WhatsApp number, because we believe many people now have access to WhatsApp. Issues around corruption, I think we are quite clear as this government that part of our 10 strategic priorities is to deal with issues of corruption. There are a number of controls internally. We've got internal controls that are put in place to make sure that things are done properly. We've got the various Section 79 committees that are under the legislature, which look at whether the monies are being spent on the things that are in the IDP and there are no leakages. We've got our own municipal public accounts committee that is meant really to hold people accountable. The Auditor General audits our books and our work on an annual basis. We also do have internally a new structure that has been set up called the Group Forensic and Investigation Services, GFIS. So the Office of the Ombudsman has got to be revived, because that's where people can really go to lay their complaints about us as government not fulfilling our mandate. So I think you are raising an important issue there. Informal traders, I think it's a submission that I'm sure Mbongeleli must do there in the IDP process, to say let's have more allocation on informal traders, because as things stand, when people are unemployed or they are retrenched, they will be looking more at joining the informal sector for survival. So if we do not allocate more resources in the informal sector, then we will be missing an opportunity to assist our people there. Community-based planning is quite important, but part of the problem now is if you say people must participate, communities must be engaged under lockdown. The lockdown says you can't have gatherings, there can't be a meeting. So how do we make sure that we get communities to participate in the process through these types of medium, like Zoom and all these other medium? But when you say they must participate through these mediums, then people say, but we don't have data. So then the IDP and the budget must respond to the data. so that people have got free Wi-Fi and then they can connect and they are able to participate. So we expect that some of those comments would come in to say, invest in that infrastructure of broadband so that people have got access and they can participate. Faith, I think you are correct. You've got a role as the young people to participate and make your inputs in this process. Pollution is a big problem, which leads and contributes largely to climate change. So we are signatories to some of the international conventions as a city. We've got to implement programs that help us deal with the issues of pollution. The carbon taxes that national government is introducing will also help. But a brilliant program that has been in the cards for a while, the separation at source program that pick it up as a utility of our municipality must implement, is quite a welcome suggestion. So if you go and look at the IDP and the budget, I'm sure there might be something there. If it's not there, you must make the input so that we are reminded that separation at source must happen. Katleo, issues of HIV and AIDS, it's quite important because we know now that because of the current pandemic, some of the people who are, who are susceptible to suffering, being number one to suffer and succumb to the pandemic are those with HIV and AIDS and all these other lifestyle diseases. So it's quite important that the budget and IDP addresses those particular things, teenage pregnancy, youth unemployment, drug and alcohol abuse is quite important. So if you look at the IDP and the budget and there are no allocations, we expect you to say, but you are missing the point. You are not fit to govern. Maybe the student council must become the mayoral committee because you guys are up to scratch in terms of the issues that are really bothering young people. I missed the other lady's name, but I think it's Euniza, and who says, look, at least we finally have a voice. We see things differently as young people. That's correct. We believe that young people are the nerve of society. Because you are out there, you are the ones who to know things that are happening. You are the ones who would be in the forefront. So you are the ones who must help us and say, you guys, if you don't implement this type of a program and put more money there, in few years' time, we are going to have big problems because you are in the streets. You are the ones who know these things. You are in the streets physically, but you are also in the global streets. You talk to people from across the globe because you've got this connectivity that you have. So you are the ones that must help us with ideas so that we are able to move forward. Gender-based violence, I think is quite an important aspect that needs to be attended to. The allocations must be there. Jordan, I think you are raising an important point. Let's engage the youth on the IDP. So I'm sure that the speaker working with the executive mayor and the mayoral committee, we've got to make sure that as we speak to the different sectors of our population in Johannesburg, there is a program to engage young people. So various MMCs must be in various platforms to engage with young people on the IDP. Unati, I think the issues of GBV and unemployment we have dealt with, but we're raising an important issue around safety in general. Because if our city is not safe, no one is going to come and invest in our city. Therefore, we lose out on opportunities to create jobs. Tourists will not come if our city is not safe. Therefore, we lose on that important, investment and income that tourists bring to our city. So you need to look at the IDP and the budget and see if there's something called 10+, Joburg 10+, where we are trying to get at least 10 policemen or 10 JMPD officers on the ground, plus other law enforcement services like your inspectors and so on. So look out for those things. If they are not there, bring them back into the space. governmental studies to be introduced in the school curriculum. Madam Speaker, when I was doing one of my postgraduate courses, I had to do a course called
MMC. I'm told you have 1 minute, MMC. You have 1 minute to wrap up. Thank you.
Governmental studies is a course. It's a course that is there in the higher institutions. I think maybe we need to look at working with the Minister of Basic Education, whether something like that can be introduced in the secondary school so that as they transition to university, it doesn't become a new thing at all. The last part on using young people to build houses, we agree we need co-production. The citizens, especially the youth of our city, must be involved in the delivery of municipal services. It's not rocket science to clean a street. Anybody can do. You don't need a service provider or a tender. So those things, if young people are not employed, we can get them into artisanship training programs. They can be trained on how to build, and then the city can use young people to build houses. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, MMC. We are left with 3 minutes. Maybe if we could allow the two mayors to wrap up, and after that, Dr. Nyati would wrap up.
No. Speaker, let's do it this way. I'm suggesting that SIPO picks up a few comments from the people who are watching, and then we have a few comments from the people here who are attending, and then you still have to wrap up. You are the host.
Okay. All right.
We'll go a little bit more. Okay. We'll go a little bit more than half past.
The usual time. Okay. Thank you. All right. Over to you, Masiho.
Thank you very much, Madam Speaker. Can you hear me? Okay. We have a comment. Abigail Ndlovu says, citizenry indeed. Then we've got a comment on YouTube. Momo Rakololo says, thank you, leaders, for the information. Oh, no, I've read that one. Julie Tim, who the students call her Auntie Julie. She's the one, together with Brenda, who are facilitating the Joburg Student Council. She says here on YouTube, a lot of wisdom from active young minds. Thank you for making this possible, Madam Speaker. And Gosana Mapena says, good afternoon, leaders. I would appreciate if the IDP can provide football fields in the inner city, close to where Black Child is, or enter into contracts with schools so that to accommodate youth. And so that's the last comment. And also, Madam Speaker, just to say that the young people today, they will get SMSs or WhatsApp. The first WhatsApp is going to be a document. It's on Google Play, and they can just click on it. They'll be able to interact with the city. They'll be able to send a WhatsApp. There's a WhatsApp number there, which is easy to follow. Also, they'll be able to get a IDP document. So we've made an interactive e-notice board where people can just get all the information at once. It's a simple WhatsApp that you send. You click on a link. You can open into the city's website. You can go to WhatsApp. There's also a form that they can just fill in and make their input. So we've really made it simple for anybody who has a smartphone to be able to engage with us. And also, the last point I want to make is that for those who don't have smart cell phones, they can go to the regional offices in all the regions, Region A, all the way to Region G, as well as Metro Center, to be able to get all the documents that they need. They can get hard copies of the documents. There's also a Dropbox in each region. So once you've received a hard copy document, then you can make your inputs and take it to the Dropbox in all the regional offices. I'm not going to go through all the addresses, but I have shared it with young people. We'll share it on all your platforms, Madam Speaker. So I think those are just my last comments from my side. Thank you very much to the young people. We know some of them, we lost them because of Wi-Fi issues and internet and data issues, but I'm glad that the NMC has responded to saying that we can make inputs to make sure all the young people have access to Wi-Fi. So thank you very much, Doc, as well, from my side.
All right. Speaker, can I just have one comment directed to the MMC, and then you can wrap up if you don't mind. MMC, we know that, you know, before 1994, there was, you know, a culture of going against authority, not wanting to pay for things as part of the struggle. Now, we still see some of that in the communities where people don't really pay for the services, don't want to pay for the services that they consume. Now, for you who is looking after the finances of the city, the culture of non-payment, what is it that is going to be done? Yes, we know that other people don't work, others are indigent, but for those who are actually earning income but don't pay, what is it that the city is planning to do to change the culture so that people understand that we are no longer fighting apartheid now? They actually need to work with the government to ensure that you know, the delivery takes place, especially for those who are working.
Thank you very much, Doc. I think you are raising an important point. We've got to confront the culture of non-payment. It's unacceptable that people who can afford to pay for services just sit back and say, we are not going to pay. So it's two parts. There's an education and awareness part of things to say, look, as you are correctly putting it, we are no longer resisting the system. It's our system, all of us. So let's support the system. Let's work together. So that's the first part. But those who are not going to cooperate and pay because of whatever reason, we are going to go for them. We can't accept that somebody is working, can pay, but they are not paying. Credit control measures will be implemented. We will follow the processes. We've got our bylaws in place. We'll follow the processes. If we've got to cut their electricity and cut their water, we will do so. But those who really can't afford to pay, there is the expanded social package program in the city. So we will announce also the debt rehabilitation program to ease the burden on our customers, those who can afford, who can prove that they can afford to pay. They will then be enrolled in the various programs of our cities so that we are able to provide relief for them. But those who are able to pay and they are not paying, we will go for them. Just this morning, we went out to a number of facilities where people are consuming water and they are not paying a cent since 2018. So we have already instructed the teams to cut those particular big firms, and then they are going to face the might of the law. Thank you very
much. Speaker, you're supposed to wrap up, but there's the John T. who has been wanting to say something about land, but I think we don't have the time now. Maybe next time we can allow John T. to say something about that. You should wrap up now, Speaker.
Thank you very much, and apologies to you, John T. In wrapping up, I want to thank the MMC Jolly Matongo, for such an informative presentation and capacitating our young people. As they said, the MMC, that going out of this session, they will not be the same people as they were coming into the session. They have really acquired a lot of knowledge, especially on the link of IDP as well as the budget and the process thereof that the city is undertaken. And I'm sure in their minds now, they are eager to make comments on the budget document that we have told them about. And they are going to access the budget, the IDP on the platforms that SIPO has read out. And for those who do not have access, or maybe if they have relatives or parents or other people who don't have access to the internet, they will be getting these documents at the municipal offices next to where people stay. We will also be putting these documents in our health facilities. So as and when they go to the clinics, they will get the documents. And we are happy that we will also be on the community radio stations where people will be calling in and giving their inputs. So we are asking for inputs, particularly from young people. The voice of a young person is very critical and is very important for the city of Johannesburg. As you have spoken about the GDS 2040 MMC Matongo, by 2040, some of us won't be around. But the young people who are on this platform and those who are watching and viewing this show, and those who are not on the show necessarily, but young people will be the leaders of the city. So it's important for them to be part of the city as we go forward to 2040. I want to thank you very much. Thank you very much, MMC, for making time. I know you are very busy, and thank you very much for putting aside this time from your busy schedule. And next time when we call you and all other MMCs, please make time. This platform is very important, and please convey this message to your colleagues, the other MMCs, as well as the executive mayor. He is aware of this because we have written a letter to him to inform him about this platform and the importance of this platform in community education. And we would really appreciate the executive coming into the platform and educate our citizens on pertinent issues that are affecting their city, because this city is not ours, it is their city. Dr. Nyati, thank you very much for your continuous support and supporting us and partnering with us in this platform. We really appreciate you. Tate Masejo, we don't thank the fish for swimming, so yours is to swim. If you don't swim in this office of the speaker, you will die like a fish. Thank you very much to the former mayors and the mayors of our young mayors of our student council and the student council members and all young people who have been watching and following this stream, this service. Thank you so much. Who have been in our platforms, we really appreciate. And to our viewers, your comments are very important. We will also follow up on the comments that needs follow up. Thank you very much, and meet us again next week on Wednesday. Every Wednesday at 4 o'clock, we are on this platform. Thank you very much. Please make sure that you make comments. Go through that IDP document as young people and make your comments. Thank you so much, and good night.
Good night. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Speaker.
Thank you very much.